I think we can start. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Evidence-Based Advocacy, Bridging Research and Policy Reforms. My name is Jasmina Ceaușescu from Macedonian Center for International Cooperation, and I will be moderating today's session. As we have mentioned several times in the invitation for this training, this is our final thematic training in the series for grantees, and therefore it was especially important for us to gather as many of you as possible. And also our experts from Center for Study of Democracy have made a special effort to present topics today that are highly useful for improving the quality of our work. We will start today's training with a presentation of the key achievements from three grantees. Advocacy Center for Democratic Culture from Kosovo, Center for Democracy and Human Rights from Montenegro, and Together for Life from Albania. We will hear practical insights on how small-scale initiatives can generate significant policy and social impact. So let's start. First, it's my pleasure to invite Daniela Mineva, Senior Analyst at the Center for the Study of Democracy from Bulgaria, to give her welcoming remarks and open today's session.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. I truly enjoyed the first similar training and knowledge exchange that we had. I was really impressed by all the work you have done. However, as you know, you have prepared great plans or did some trainings and meetings with policymakers, but we should really try to sustain this impact after our project ends. So this is why we have prepared a hopefully useful agenda for you today. We'll provide some of our knowledge, how we collect and analyze statistical data, how we do impactful data visualization and interpretation, and how we participate in the policymaking process, how we approach policymakers and push for needed reforms. Even if we don't have budget, even if this is not something that we are paid for, we still do it because it's important, because it's our countries. But I'm very interested to now hear from what you have been doing. So let me give the floor to Stefan from the Advocacy Center for Democratic Culture in Kosovo. Thank you.
Hi, Paul. Sorry, Yasmina. How can I share screen? Because when I click more, there is
Can
no
you see the share button? Or
share.
maybe
Yes. Share button. I have Chrome window entire screen.
time screen if your PowerPoint is open on your desktop.
Entire screen. Okay. Can you see now?
No.
No. Okay, I will try once more. Sharing more. Can you see now? No?
No.
Okay. Can I send to you, Yasmina, and you can?
Yeah, I have your presentation.
I sent yesterday or a few days ago to Thea.
Okay.
Sorry, this is not my laptop. I don't know.
Do you see now?
No.
Okay, it says screen sharing. There's some error regarding the screen sharing with this Zoom. I don't know what is the problem, and it's too bad because your presentations were very, very good. Maybe. Okay, now Thea will try. Oh.
Oh, good. It works.
We can see now Stefan's screen.
Okay.
Okay.
We do the magic. So sorry for the technical issues. Basically, our project was a little bit, let's say, modified for the youth, and we try to connect the topics such as corruption and the youth. Can you hear me as well? Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, all fine. Your voice and
okay.
sharing is fine.
Okay. So the project name was Stage of Integrity, Theater Against Corruption in Kosovo. Just to introduce myself quickly, my name is Stefan Kalaba and I'm the project manager in ACDC. And I was leading this project. Shortly, as many of you know, corruption in Kosovo is not just legal or institutional issue. It is something that directly affects people's daily lives. So this is especially visible within the youth, and we are in a little bit even more, let's say, challenging position because we are working with youth from marginalized groups. So we are working with youth from Serbian community, Roma community, Ashkali community, etc. So we wanted to approach this problem not in a traditional way. We, through, I don't know, some papers, reports, we want to simply we ask ourselves how can we make people not to only understand corruption, but to feel corruption and the impact and the reflect on it. So that's how we start with our with the theater. So raise awareness, create dialogue, and empower young people to become active participants in society. There were part, for example, of entire process from developing the script to rehearsals, performing in front of a live audience, etc. I will just say some facts. For example, our first outcome was to empower youth to recognize and address corruption through creative, participatory, theater-based approaches and civic engagement. And the other outcome was to raise public awareness about corruption consequences and the Agency for Preventing Corruption role and reporting channels. Not to forget, our partner on the project was Agency for Corruption from central institutions in Pristina. So at the later stage of the project, we done information campaign with them. So the core of our project was 3 interactive sessions on active stage presence, voice techniques, and group dynamics. Of course, first we recruit young amateur actors. We established actually we have cooperation with the university here in Pristina and with the youth of drama, and later on we have rehearsals. We have 5 guided rehearsals with collaborative script development based on real corruption scenarios and script creation. Youth wrote these scripts reflecting authentic corruption experiences. We done 2 public theater performances, one in Zubin Potok and Gračanica. So we wanted to have these rehearsals in multi-ethnic towns here in Kosovo. So we choose Gračanica and Zubin Potok. And just to explain you this, the main task was not only to have rehearsals and to have theater performance. Maybe the main event was after the theater, where youth from the theater performance and youth from the public or youth who were watching these performances, after on they were discussing about the problems and the issues of corruption. After the performances, we have this. We designed and distributed 200 informational leaflets on corruption reporting and agency mandate in local languages. So basically, this was our last activity where we involved agency. So it was very important to involve youth, because we found out that somehow the corruption is in our culture. It's in our, let's say, it's our habit. So it was very important to us to somehow let's say work with youth to try from our let's say youngest generations to show them and to through the performance that they can see what is the let's say bad impact that corruption have on society. Just to add, we have our performances. We have three topics within the performance. One was corruption in hospitals, which is very often in our culture. The second play was the second act was corruption in municipalities and the governments, and the last one was corruption in schools. So pretty much when we done some researches before our project, we notices that the corruption is the mostly present in these cases. So at the end, if we speak about sustainability and recommendations, our idea was theater-based advocacy. So to replicate this model for other civic education topics with youth-led content, continuing performances in the meaning that youth express strong interest in continuing performances and mentoring new participants. Reusable resources, of course, we have materials that we circulate via schools and in our media campaigns. And what is maybe the most important thing, that this kind of projects and especially this project make our youth network even stronger in the manner that we create youth advocate networks for peer education and early partnerships. Pretty much that's from my side. I try to be concise as much as I can. And thank you for giving us the chance to represent our project, and thank you for the cooperation.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Your project was indeed very different, very interesting. Daniela, are you here?
Yes, I just wanted to add that during even high-level conferences only with politicians, ministers, and prime ministers, when I am asked at the end of the event, how do I think corruption can be stopped, with what type of changes of legislation or prosecution, my answer has always been, well, if it's too late to change it, then we should start from the changing the morality of and the perceptions of young people. If the prevention should start from kindergarten and from changing the whole culture that we live in. So I think this is a very, very important project. Not less important than all the other projects, of course, but I think it's the basis to teach the young people basically morals and to be good persons. So let's continue with Milena from the Center for Democracy and Human Rights in Montenegro to present their projects.
Yeah, just Stefan, please stop sharing your screen so Milena can share hers. Thank you.
Okay, I will try. Entire screen, okay. So you can see now. You can see my sharing.
Yes.
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to present myself. My name is Milena Ranitovic, and I am the project manager at the Center for Democracy and Human Rights. And we have implemented a project which is called the Cost of Corruption in Montenegro. Maybe our project is not so interesting as ACDC's project because we have not included the young people in the implementation of the project, but the project was not also intended for them. But nevertheless, I want to use this opportunity to emphasize the impact of the project that we have implemented, especially regarding the situation that was going on our hand when we were implementing this project. Later on, I will explain why I'm saying all of this. The project, just a second to maybe use like this. So we were implementing these activities. We had a training for public officials, then the memorandums of cooperation that we signed with the judiciary system, actually the basic court in Podgorica, as well as the custom administration in Montenegro. We were trying to sign a memorandum with the police, but at the time that was not possible. I will also explain why. Also, during the project, we have conducted the gap analysis, and we have had a campaign that was supposed to raise awareness about the prevention of the corruption, and in that manner, we have recorded 2 episodes of the podcast that Sedem is regularly recording, which is called Just at the Sedem. And we have had 2 guests. One is the let's say I don't know how to say this in English, but at a high position at the Agency for Preventing Corruption in Montenegro. And another guest was also from the civil society organization that is very popular in Montenegro in fighting corruption and implementing project in that manner. Also, we have developed several infographics and visuals that we have posted on all our social networks. As you can see, our project was basically structured in quantitative data as well as qualitative data, and you can see what are the, let's say, quantitative data in the sense of the numbers that we have reached, the target and similar, and the qualitative data that we collected from the other sources. These can be mainly let's say qualitative data that can be mainly used in a manner that when we speak about the analysis analysis that we have produced. During the project, we have also developed some of the recommendations, and as you can see that we have developed institutional, operational, and social recommendation, but I will not read the things that I have, let's say, I have written in the presentation, and I want to speak more about our experiences. At the time when we were writing the project, we knew that there is a misunderstanding between the organization and institution that are supposed to work together in order to prevent corruption or to just act when the corruption is happening. And we have before find that there is a lack of communication as well as acting between the police as well as judiciary and the prosecution system in Montenegro. This is something that we have found during all our trainings that we have held with them. And in that manner, when we were writing a project, we assumed that there is like this problem, but we didn't know that the problem is this much big, because at the time when we were implementing this activity, I can tell you that the political situation in Montenegro was very, very like difficult, especially since, as you are maybe seen, you have seen that some of the Miloš Medenica that was accused for the organized criminal and the corruption from his mother, that was at the time one of the main judiciary in Montenegro. And we have seen that there is a great miscommunication between judiciary system in Montenegro and the police, where the chief of the police in Montenegro accused the judiciary that they have not done their work, and therefore the accused escaped the country. So this, in that sense, gave us another motive to further implement this project and to give more emphasis on what we have done. And I can tell you that during the training we have had officials from police as well as judiciary system, and we have spoke about that, and in that manner also developed some of the recommendation for this type of miscommunication to be resolved, as well as to, let's say, strengthen their communication and cooperation in general. Also, another very important thing is that during the time when we were implementing the project, you have also seen the situation in Montenegro with the monument that was built for the Pavle Đurišić, that is also one of the, like, let's say, war criminals in Montenegro, and that like the church and some of the other conservative politicians have wanted to let's say, build it in city of Berane. And at that time, we were signing a memorandum with the custom administration, which is responsible in that sense for this type of the activities, because the monument has to be imported in Montenegro. This is something that we have also discussed in our analysis. And also in that sense, this memorandum was very important, because never before has the custom administration signed any kind of memorandums or even had any kind of cooperation with the civil society organization. And we have another additional, let's say, additional activity that was produced by this project. We didn't plan it, but also helped us to maybe have a better communication with them, is that after the signing of the memorandum and our overall communication with them, our director became a member of the working group of actually ethical, let's say, ethical committee of the custom administration, and this is added value to the project and added value for the system in general, because never before civil society organization was involved in their doings, activities, and especially not in the ethical committee. I can also tell you that this was a great impact for all the other civil society organizations in Montenegro to maybe involve and engage in the working of the custom administration. These were our target groups, as you can see: judges, prosecution, police officer, custom officials, and similar. And then we wanted, through other activities, to also engage the general public, which I think that we achieved, as we have reached over 10,000 people in Montenegro, which is a very big number for Montenegro country, through our podcasts and through our visuals that we have, let's say, posted on social media. And every post that we have posted regarding the prevention of corruption has had many comments, which is not usual for the overall visuals that we post, but that only tells us about how much people in Montenegro are discouraged when it comes to preventing corruption, and then that they don't believe the system. And in that sense, many people have sent us emails and messages wanting to gain knowledge about the corruption and how to, for example, report some of the situation that they have seen or they are experiencing. As you can see, these are the key results that we have developed during this project. We have signed 2 memorandums, which is something that we have put as a target in the project proposal, but we are very sorry that we could not sign a memorandum with the police. At that time, that was impossible, because I have told you about the situation with Miloš Medenica and the situation that the chief of the police had. And at that time, when we were implementing the project, the police was very much busy, and we could not, we didn't have so, let's say, big communication. It was very difficult to reach them at the time, even though before we had very good communication with them. I have also in the presentation put some of the obstacles. One of the obstacles that I could also say was also the lack of the communication with the institution, because during the time when we were writing the analysis, it was very difficult to gain some of the information that were needed for the analysis to be good. But in that sense, we had to constantly write them, call them, and use our own networks to reach the people for them to send us the information. But later, at the end of the drafting of the analysis, when we were just quitting, okay, they didn't answer, especially I'm meaning about the Agency for Preventing of the Corruption. They have sent us a ton of the information about the analysis that we were writing, and that was something that really enriched the analysis and overall gave us a good result. Also, I have written some of the ways in which you can also maybe implement in your other projects, how you can contact the officials, how you can reach them, and the similar. But I'm hoping that you can learn from something that I already explained. And in that sense, I will maybe just put an emphasis, especially on the environment in which you are implementing the project. And I'm thinking about, when I say this, I am thinking about the political situation in your country and how it can impact your project, in a sense that maybe you will not have a good result, but also if you follow every day the situation and you know what are the problems, you can have a great project that will give a great result, and it will not only remain on for you to fulfill your target and that's all, but it can also give a greater impact on the society overall. I hope I was not taking a long time, and I hope I was clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Milena. Thank you for your very detailed but insightful presentation. Maybe we can move to Daniela if you have comments.
No, because my presentation actually focuses exactly on that issue, how we can maintain connections, formal and informal, with the policymakers and participate in the reform. So I will talk about the formal routes, but what Milena said, that we also need to have personal connections, follow-up emails, go to coffee with the people that we establish contacts with customs, maybe police and prosecution in the future. Hopefully that's really crucial part of all of our advocacy work. So let us proceed now with the next presentation from Together for a Life from Albania.
Hello, everybody. Let me try to share my screen. Okay, so do you see it?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, perfect. So I will try to not take too long, but be as much insightful as I can. Our project was titled Out of Sight, Informal Payments in Healthcare in Albania, and was implemented in the municipality of Tirana. What was the project about? This was a 10-month project, like many of us, and it was focused on corruption in primary healthcare in Tirana municipality. As an organization, we have focused on healthcare, transparency, and accountability in the healthcare sector for many years now. But something we had not addressed, also in the corruption, but something we had not addressed was maybe localizing it inside of the Tirana municipality, and then seeing the difference between corruption in primary healthcare sector in comparison to other sectors of healthcare. Our core components were the research study. We conducted the research study the first months, where we had interviews with citizens to see the level of perception and the level of corruption and hand corruption in primary healthcare, and then that was followed up by a national roundtable with key stakeholders. And then everything was presented through an awareness campaign throughout the last months of the project. We gathered both the quantitative and qualitative data. The survey allowed us to measure prevalence, while focus groups helped us understand the motivators, fears, and systemic issues behind informal payments. 400 citizens were interviewed through questionnaires. So what we did was prepare questionnaires, and then we went out to 10 healthcare centers in Tirana municipality, 7 urban and 3 rural, where we interviewed 400 citizens face to face, while assuring their their anonymity and made sure that everything that they shared was in a confidential matter, and we didn't gather any personal data except the age range and the area where they lived, so if it was a urban or a rural area. But other than that, everything was kept confidential. And then after the 400 interviews with questionnaires, we followed up with 2 focus groups that we tried to gather. After the quantitative data that we gathered, we tried to gather the qualitative data as well. Our key findings, we had a lot of key findings actually, but some of the most important that I wanted to share with you guys as well were there 44% of the interviewed people experienced or knew cases of informal payments. 31% paid personally, so they had this practice where they gave money personally when they went to the primary healthcare center. 69% believed payment is needed to receive proper service, which was one of the most alarming, that comes from lack of trust in institutions where you have where you think you have to pay where you think you have to pay to give money to get the service that you are supposed to get for free. And the most alarming of them all is that only 1% reported cases, and that shows that people and patients in Albania have a very extreme lack of trust in institutions, where even when they are forced or they have to pay, they still do not go to the next step, that is reporting. The data clearly shows that informal payments are normalized. People don't report them because they don't trust the system or even fear consequences. Informal payments are systematic, not isolated. What we understood is that it had become kind of a culture where in 400 interviews we had those type of percentages. We can see that it is becoming a culture of the people itself, and even in the cases where they are not asked personally or directly or indirectly by the staff, they still believe that they need to give money in order to get the right healthcare provided to them. And also, underreporting is extremely high. As I mentioned, only 1% of the 400 interviews made were told us that they had previously reported in a case of a payment. What was the project impact? Through our online media awareness campaign, we were able to reach more than 107,000 citizens through our infographics, graphics, and also short video. We were very lucky to have partner web pages or partner Facebook pages that shared our content as well, and we were able to reach a very huge number of citizens that viewed and interacted with our posts, while 400 citizens were physically met through the conduction of the interviews. And in our roundtable, we were lucky enough to have more than 20 stakeholders engaged. Many of them were from key institutions, also Ministry of Health or the health operator. And also a very good thing for us was that we also had partner civil society organizations that were part of the roundtable, and that helps us because having civil society organizations also in the roundtable can open up the conversation and have a broader view. Our target audience was, of course, the Ministry of Health, which all the recommendations that were addressed from us through this study were all shared with the Ministry of Health and the National Healthcare Operator, because those are the two kind of main key institutions, and then the public healthcare institutions, civil society organization, media, and then of course the general public, which we had the chance to have interactions with. What were our main recommendations? Of course, strengthen anti-corruption mechanisms, improve monitoring in healthcare institutions, functional reporting mechanisms, protection for whistleblowers, awareness on rights and reporting, and citizen empowerment. Of course, from what I already told you as well, we saw that there is a very huge lack of trust in public institutions from the citizens themselves, and that's what sends them firstly to give the informal payment because they don't believe that they will get what they deserve for free, and then from to not report and to kind of repeat the same cycle again. All of this comes true because of this lack of trust to institutions. Why this matters? We truly believe that this project matters, and we are very grateful for the opportunity to have implemented this project and to have implemented it in a municipal level so we could actually see what happens. And also, corruption in healthcare directly affects people's lives, dignity, and equal access to care. And them believing that they have to pay is what is the most alarming thing. It creates inequality where those who can pay receive better or faster services, because a lot of people interviewed truly said that if they gave money to informal payment, of course they would skip lines, they would go faster, they would get the service better, and that's what kind of creates the inequality. It also weakens trust in institutions, discourages citizens from seeking help or even reporting abuses. Evidence-based data is essential to move from perception to real reform, because of course going from a perception of informal payments to actually having real numbers is a big change. And also, of course, citizens need safe, accessible, and trustworthy reporting mechanisms. We had to have a lack of very good and efficient reporting mechanisms, and we believe that it is something that is needed in our healthcare system to see improvement regarding the corruption and informal payments. I think that was all. Thank you very much for listening, and also thank you to the Seldi.net for the opportunity to be able to implement this kind of project.
Thank you, Griselda, for your excellent presentation.
Thank you.
This is always a very sensitive but important topic, the healthcare, and it is clear that much more work and attention is still needed in this area in all Western Balkan countries. Dani?
Again, thank you very much, Griselda. Your presentation was very interesting, and I think it was the perfect transition to the next three presentations that are focused on the need of evidence-based advocacy and recommendations, ideally based on real data and real victimization experience of the people, not just perceptions. And by the way, I just want to mention that this is something from what we do that so far the artificial intelligence cannot do, because we all use AI in our work, but AI just summarizes already existing, let's say, reports or statements. But when we see the need of a new type of reform or a new message or a new recommendation that we have to the policymakers, it's only AI cannot generate this, only we can do it. And AI usually summarizes existing information in a very general way. So it's up to us to go talk to the people and collect the data, as you have done visiting all these healthcare centers. So in that regard, let me give the floor to my colleague Stoicu.
Just a second.
Yes,
Can I?
yes.
Okay, so thank you again, Stefan, Milena, and Griselda for your insightful presentations and good practices shared, as well as for your openness and willingness to accept our invitation to present today. We really appreciate it. And just to mention in the chat, my colleague shared the link to the participants list, so please don't forget to mark your attendance there. And yeah, we can now move to our next session. I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Stoicho Rusinov, analyst at the Geoeconomics programs at the Center for Study of Democracy, who will present on corruption victimization, data collection, and analysis.
Thank you for the chance to be here today. So I will share my screen for the purposes of that presentation. So let me just click a button here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, just maximize the presentation
Okay.
so it's bigger.
So here is the presentation. Basically, my presentation is about corruption victimization data, how to collect that data and how to analyze the data. Basically, just minimize this. So yes. Basically, the problem with corruption is that it is usually an observable phenomena or perhaps vaguely observable through specific channels. But we collect corruption victimization data once we want to actually analyze corruption on a level of the entire society. So basically, the idea is to turn real experiences into structured surveys, then ensure privacy rules on that data, basically anonymize the respondents because microdata should be anonymous. Then, based on the data, provide actionable metrics, and based on those actionable metrics, inform better public services and decisions for the public sector. The victimization data essentially asks people and businesses about direct encounters with bribery or related corruption. This makes the problem visible, although it's on perceptions level. And this is one of the biggest criticism against such data, because you're essentially asking people or businesses how they feel about corruption or whether they experience corruption, which, if the sample is representative for the entire population, may be enough to prove that there is systemic, perhaps, manifestations of corruption in the country. Basically, we have three types of corruption victimization data. The first, as I told you, is the perceptions. This is what people believe about corruption. It is useful for trust and reputation and can be influenced by media and politics. There is a lot of research about collecting data on corruption victimization and asking people about their perceptions of corruption in, for example, the public administration offices or the judiciary system. And usually the research shows that people are very prone to like biases in terms of media, and especially once you have a very turbulent times and a lot of like public scandals, people may perceive corruption as higher than it is. So this is the big problem with the perception component of victimization data. The second type of thing is when you ask people about whether they personally experienced corruption. This captures direct contact with bribery or request for bribes, often uses a 12-month reference period, and can show which services and groups are most affected. And then we have the third type of data, which is the most accurate, but also the most limited, because it is based on cases already reported, investigated, or recorded. It is important, but usually undercounted because of hidden corruption and depends on reporting and case detection. Basically, those are used together. They provide the best type of evidence, because if the perceptions of the people align with their victimization. Basically, if they experienced corruption and they perceived corruption at the same time on structural level, and if the administrative records actually match that experience, we can claim that we observe perhaps a very legitimate manifestation of corruption in this particular context. Whereas if we only see perceptions, people believing that corruption happens around them, but not personally experiencing that corruption, or not, and that corruption is not visible on administrative records, then the situation becomes more difficult to analyze because, as I told you, corruption is hidden and it needs to be observed in multiple ways, multiple angles. Why collected? Basically, victimization data helps answer a small set of practical questions. The first one is how common corruption is. This helps us estimate the share of people or businesses who face bribery during real services contact. It helps us understand where it happens because it spots higher risk services such as police, licensing, health, customer, schools, or utilities. This is when we ask people, where did you experience that corruption, where people gave you the chance to bribe them, or whether they asked for bribes directly. We also can analyze who is affected, which basically we can compare demographic groups by sex, income, region, urban, rural locations, or firm size. And it also helps us understand how costly the corruption is, because by measuring frequency, money or gifts paid, time lost, and barriers to getting services, we understand how people suffer from corruption, and from that we can extrapolate to macro levels and estimate the cost of corruption for the entire economy. And then we answer the question if is anything improving, because once we measure corruption with one survey that year and then the next one, we can compare the numbers between the 2 years and see whether people were victims of more corruption or less corruption, or whether the corruption levels persisted as the same. Basically, why should people care, even if they're not experts? Basically, it helps us prioritize reform as focus on the services causing the most harm. Then it helps us track progress, and it explains inequality as well, because when we have the microdata and when the sample is representative, we can compare different demographic groups and see how different people experience corruption. You can now answer questions of whether people in high business actually experience corruption more than people who work regular jobs. We can analyze things like state capture, because we can understand whether people from the business sector experience corruption differently than people from the administration, and whether there is a relationship between the two. With statistical methods like correlation analysis. Then the question is how the data is collected. We first set the scope, basically choose the population, services, geography, and type of corruption to measure. Then we construct the sample respondents, basically choose those samples, those respondents from selected households or firms, so results represent the wider population. And then we ask behavioral questions in the survey. For example, in the last 12 months, were you asked for money, gift, or favor? Then we anonymize the data because we want to ensure confidentiality, informed consent, safe interview settings, and trained enumerators. And then we clean and analyze the data using specific statistical software like SPSS and R. A key design choice is to ask only people or firms that have contact with the public officials. This makes the indicator about risk during actual services interactions, not about the whole population. However, if we want to analyze corruption on the level of the entire population, we can't use this design strategy. But if we want to focus on the manifestations of corruption within the group of people who actually experience that corruption, we may want to use this choice and limit the population to only the people who actually experience corruption directly. Basically, the data itself is normally collected through several ways. The most common one is by telephone, like the CSD corruption monitoring system. We use that type of collection because it's the one that provides the biggest coverage of the population. Because the physical collection of the data with paper-based survey questionnaires, it tends to limit the amount of people who are reachable. By telephone, you can contact 5,000 people, for example, and normally the response rate within those 5,000 people is about 1,000 people. So it's 20% response rate with telephone, and physical response rates, it's even lower. Online, through specialized platforms like Google Forms and Lime Survey, also produces lower response rates because people disengage mid-survey. But when they're asked on a telephone, they tend to engage because they're constantly asked questions. Caveats, basically, depending on the purposes of the survey assessment data, should be collected in specific ways. Depending on what we want to measure, we want to choose different strategy of how to collect the data. And then some samples are representative, other are not representative, basically the so-called convenience sample. A sample is not representative and it's a convenience sample once you survey only people, for example, you know, or people from your closed social circles. If you interview only those people, you underrepresent the entire part of the population that is not part of your closed circle, and we call those samples convenience samples. Convenience samples are not representative of the entire population, and their numbers can be used with very strong caveats and warnings because they don't represent the general levels of corruption. And a third type of sample needs to be, and the third type of sample is a sample that is almost representative but requires post-stratification corrections like weighting, for example, to balance the underrepresented people. Stratification is the method we use to actually collect that data. And stratum in statistics is a distinct non-overlapping subpopulation created by dividing a larger heterogeneous population based on shared characteristics like age, income, or location. Basically, every stratum is homogeneous. For example, only men aged 18 to 40 years old. It's proportional to ensure an accurate sample. The size of each stratum in the sample is proportional to its size in the total population. And stratified sampling also allows for separate calculations of statistics like mean, standard deviations or rates for each individual subgroup. An example of a stratum is, for example, imagine you have a country with 10,322 individuals inside of it. We know from the national statistics that men aged, for example, from 18 to 40 years are 1,322 people. This represents 30% of the entire population. And if we want to pay the agency that is supposed to collect the data for 1,000 individuals, the stratum will be constructed based on 1,000 individuals multiplied by that proportion in the true population counts. And in this situation, it will need 180 and 128 men aged from 18 to 40 years old, 131 women aged from 18 to 40 years old, 149 males aged 41 to 50 years, and so on. This number is the planned budget number of people we want to survey. And out of those 1,000 people, we want to survey, for example, 128 male aged this particular year. And once we have this, and once the stratification is actually done, we can say that our sample is representative, nationally representative in terms of gender and age. Of course, national statistical institutes and survey agencies use more sophisticated methodologies. For example, they also include NUTS2 or NUTS3 regional classifications, and they stratify the sample by NUTS3 region as well. So it has more cells and more requirements for stratification. However, this methodology is more expensive, and sometimes when you're running on a budget, you can only stratify on age and gender, but age and gender is essentially the minimum requirement for stratification. If the sample is not stratified, if the sample doesn't follow those numbers, for example, and if there are deviations because people in specific groups couldn't be found, then we do post stratification corrections, like including weights and things like that. What makes a good questionnaire? Essentially, we want to ask questions like, in the last 12 months, did you have contact with the police, health services, licensing offices? Or during that contact, were you asked to give money, gift, or favor? Did you pay? How many times? How much? Did you report it? If not, why not? We want to avoid questions that inject judgment from our particular experiences. For example, is your country corrupt? If we ask people, is your country corrupt? It's very likely they're going to respond with, yes, my country is corrupt, because we're injecting just judgment inside of their responses. We want to ask them only for experiences that are behaviorally justifiable, things that they personally witnessed. Or, for example, do you think public officials are honest? If we ask them that question, oh,
I think the connection dropped. Yeah.
Is Mr. Rusinovdani in your office? Can you check if he's trying to
I don't see him also on our internal chat platform, so maybe his internet dropped. I suggest we just continue with the next presentation by Vanya, and
Okay.
if he joins, he can finish later.
Because according to the agenda, it's time for a coffee break. So,
Hi guys.
Hi.
okay.
Zdravo.
We
Kako
wonder
ste?
if we should.
Yeah, I think it's better if I mean, I know that you have a coffee break planned, but I think the time is super, super limited. So can we just skip the Aren't
Of
we
course,
supposed to finish in like 30 minutes?
if you don't need a break, just
No, I don't
feel
need a
free.
break. Let's do this because actually I'm a little bit worried that there is not much time. I don't know what I will say, in such limited time.
Actually, yeah.
And also Dani has a presentation.
15 minutes behind the.
Yes, yes. And also I'm supposed to be speaking for not more than 20 minutes, which is almost nothing.
Yeah, I also suggest that Vanya now continues with her presentation.
let me because now it's like Bulgarian time is 12:05. So your time is 11:05. So we have like 25 minutes for two presentations. That's crazy. Let's do this.
Okay, Vanya, the floor is
Sure.
yours. Thank you.
So hello everybody, zdravo, peršendetje. Very nice to meeting you all. I'm really sorry that I'm, so in a hurry and so energetic, but it's just I've been teaching data visualization as part of the teaching team at Harvard. And, we've been teaching this for one whole semester. And basically you want me just to scratch the surface here and just give you, I don't know, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of presentation. So that's a Herculean task, it's not very easy to do. So let me just share. Okay, let me share my presentation. I think it's this one, is it? Or is it like the whole screen or?
I'm sorry about the fact.
Oh, okay, he's back.
I ran out of battery in the laptop and it turned off.
Okay.
Listen, can we continue?
Yeah, okay. Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, just please keep it short because we're already ahead of our time. We don't have much time.
Okay, thank you about that. I'm sorry for the interruption.
We need to finish the 3 presentations in the next 25 minutes.
Okay, so basically, as we were, or as we are where we left it, we avoid asking questions that are about personal. Basically, we avoid injecting our personal biases in the questionnaire. We want to be as neutral as possible. Basically, what we use that data to analyze, we analyze prevalence of corruption, share of eligible respondents who paid or were asked for bribe. We analyze incidents. We analyze bribe size or cost, sector hotspots. Basically, this allows us to deconstruct the corruption responses based on sectors, reporting rate, and inequality patterns, how experiences differ by group or places. I also allow to show you one of the CSD's legacy indexes that was constructed in this way. We calculate corruption pressure and involvement, and we use microdata collected in similar ways to the ones that I described. We track the data since 1999. We've been running the same survey every year with the same questions, and we calculate it with very similar methodologies. And for example, this allows us to see whether corruption, pressure, and involvement are increasing in time. We also calculate percentage of Bulgarian population susceptible to corruption, which means people who are willing to give bribes, for example. And this has also increased since 2014. Main risks and limitations is that underreporting, basically people may feel consequences or feel ashamed. Recall biases, respondents may forget details or timing, coverage gaps, some groups are hard to reach. Comparability problems, changes in the wording or mode can change results. How to reduce those problems, protect privacy and explain confidentiality clearly. Use short, clear reference periods such as the last 12 months. Train interviews and pilot the questionnaires and document methods so future rounds can be compared fairly. I also allowed to show you how the data looks like in real world. This is a free open source software called PSP, PSPP. I chose that so everyone can use it in his home because it doesn't require paying. It's not a paid-based subscription. This is how the data looks like. You basically have rows with each individual respondent. This is how to run frequency table, how to actually construct the number of the percentage of the people who are actually responded to a particular question in a it tells you how many are almost involved, for example, and by sex, for example, 1,116 males believe that almost everybody is involved in corruption. 108.48 males believe that almost everybody is involved in corruption. And that's the presentation. Thank you for the attention. I'm sorry for the interruption as well, but my laptop ran out of battery.
Thank you very much, Stoicho. So now let's go back to Vanya's presentation that she already started.
Okay, let's go back to me, but let's share the screen. Yeah, okay, I think it's this one. I'm really, sorry that we're so constrained in time. So I will definitely, you are seeing the screen, right? Hello, guys.
Yes,
Bravo.
yes, we see it.
But do you see it like full? Because I see it only half.
No, it's
You need to at the bottom on
Yeah,
at
I'm
your
doing it,
right
but
bottom.
yeah.
Now we can see
It's
it.
full
Okay,
now.
let's do that. Let's do that. So, guys, I'm really just scratching the surface. It's a super limited time, and what I'm seeing, in practice is nowadays you might be doing amazing research, you might be doing great reports, but if you're not able to market it, if you're not able to show impactful and interesting visualizations, you're losing a lot. That cliche kind of saying that a picture says more than 1,000 words, that it's true. And I think that overall, we as people working at think tanks and nonprofits, we should definitely be focusing more on how to improve our visualization skills. I will, this was intended to be quite long, so I will just skip through it all. But if you feel free to always, drop me an email, contact me or whatever. I'm always ready to help. I would love to share with you. And at the end, I wanted to show you some free public available resources that you can use for better presentations. So first, how to choose the right type of presentation. This is a right type of visualization. I see a lot, nowadays. So many people just, they put a pie chart and then they call it a visualization. It's very pathetic, I would say, using pie chart for everything. So let's just go through different types of charts that you can use for different occasions. So when you have change over time, so change over time in data visualization allows us to perceive patterns, trends, fluctuations. I think, the best one most times you use is a line chart. For example, if you're showing some revenue, or if you're showing whatever the change in budget over whatever years, then you use a line chart. It's good if you use a Venn chart to show some kind of uncertainty or some potential future trends. So as you can see, these are the mostly used types of visualizations: standard chart, a line, and then you have the area. I think area, it could be, area could be a better use when you want to actually show the difference in totals, when this is the most important thing that you want to show. And here I would say is always, you know, be mindful of what you want to tell, like what's the story behind whatever you are showing. It's not like just you have some data, you visualize it in whatever, you know, way you can, and just you put it there and that's it. It's like, what do you want to say? You know, if you actually want to see the differences in time series with a few different variables, then it's better to use a line chart. But if you want to show, okay, now, you know, we have this different totals, then it's better to use area. You can also use for change in time, you can also use columns, but be careful when it's better if you have just change over time in maybe one variable or two variables, but not more than this, because then it becomes convoluted. You know, if you have change in time and you're showing 5 different columns, you know, in 5 different colors, then it becomes a total mess, and people are like, what is this guy showing us? A different, maybe, you know, way could be if you want to show a relationship over time when you have changes between amount and some kind of rate of increase or decrease, some rate of change, then it would be smart in this case to use a line chart and columns. But again, this would be impactful if you're looking maybe at one variable, not, or yeah, one variable. Something that I don't see that much in practice, and I think it's actually quite nice to use, is this fan chart. So in this case, you know, like from here, you have the data already of something that whatever happened, I don't know, you have GDP for Albania between 1960 and 2000. And then from, okay, not 2000, but let's say 2026. And then you have projections, or I don't know, economic growth or whatever. And then you want to see, so these are different scenarios, you know, different projections that you have. In this case, it's cool to use a fan chart. Stream graph, it's a little bit more, I would say, unusual. But feel free to use it when you want to especially focus on changes in totals. A heat map. Also, you know, it's important, I think, to know the names of the different types of charts, because, for example, if you use a really cool free tool like Flourish or Data Wrapper, it's very, very easy. It's free. You don't need anything. You can just register and you basically just copy paste your data in. It can be something very simple, like you can even have it in Excel and import it there, or you can copy paste it there. But it's important to, you know what you're looking for, because you know, maybe you know this, like in your mind, you know this as a graph, but you don't know what the name is. So it's cool, you know, to know the names. Then you can just search for it and, okay, I want to do a heat map. So you look for heat map and import your data, and that's it. A heat map is usually used for some kind of temporal changes, daily, weekly, monthly, and sometimes, you know, it's often used for actually for temperature, but not only. Gantt chart, I'm pretty sure that all of you are familiar with Gantt chart. As you can see, it's useful. It's a great way to show when you have some kind of duration. You know, you have different variables and you actually want to show the duration, and you can then compare the different durations. And okay, circle timeline is pretty obvious what it is. Then, so this is all we're talking until now was visualization in change over time. Then what about when you have magnitude? So magnitude is when you actually want to show how you want to compare how big or small something is. It doesn't matter whether it's in absolute terms or in relative terms. In this case, the most popular types of visualizations is usually a bar chart, very standard. You know, you compare, I don't know, populations over time or whatever, populations in different countries. And also a cool chart to use here is a lollipop chart. Okay, I put a tip here. It's important to be sure that your axis starts at 0, because if it doesn't start at 0, I've actually seen this in reality. This can be very, it can really show something that the audience would not understand, or even you can not portray whatever you want to in a convincing way. So be careful with this. Avoid exaggerating some kind of differences if you don't start the axis at 0. So the most used ones, I'm sure you know, column bar. Also, you could have grouped columns, but again, don't overdo it. Don't put too many columns. The bar chart would be better to use when the data is not in time series. If you have time series, it's better to use columns. I think it's overall better perceived. And then you use bar chart for data that is, and in this case, like in this example, you can have, I don't know, a trade, whatever, exports from China, from India, forever. So it's better to use it in a bar chart. Also, you can have grouped bar charts, as you can have grouped columns, same thing. So the same thing applies for the group. Marimekko is a cool graph. I'm not sure whether you're familiar or not, but this is a Japanese designer. Really cool, very fancy and chic clothes. So yeah, Marimekko is nice to use when you want to show proportions of something and the size at the same time. See, you just see it and you already can interpret it. Okay, see how big it is, and you also see the size and the proportion at the same time. Let's move forward then. Pictogram is also kind of cool to use, I would say. Oftentimes you can see it in media portrayed with, I don't know, in this case it's like some houses or whatever, for example, affordable houses, but oftentimes you can also see it with like little boys and girls, if you want to show some kind of difference between genders. The lollipop graph that I already mentioned, in a way, it really draws attention more to the data value than if you just have a standard bar or column chart. Something that is cool, I think, for especially if you're applying for some grant, or you apply for some project, is a really nice way to use a radar chart. For example, you can show your team, like your project manager, your whatever researcher, this and that, and instead of like writing, oh, he's very experienced in data analysis, and the other one is I don't know, very experienced in proposal writing and this and that, you can just like have the different people and then just display it with a radar chart. Like then you will see how much of capability and experience and skills someone has in whatever different areas, and then you can just see it immediately. So that's a cool addition, I think, for whenever you are applying for something. So far we have changes in time, we have magnitude, and then we have parts of a whole. So this is actually when you want to highlight, when you want to compare something to a total. In this sense, it's good to use stacked bar or column. You already actually saw that. And a donut chart is cool. And also a pie chart could be useful in this kind of case. Again, don't overdo it. Try to limit the number of categories. Don't put 100 things there, because people's brains just cannot perceive that much at the same time. And here again, you can use the stacked bar or column bar. You already know if it's time series or if it's not time series. The Marimekko and the pie chart. Don't overuse the pie chart. Too many people are using it. A donut is similar to the pie chart. Tree map is usually used for hierarchical part of or some kind of a part of a whole. It's usually used when you want to display trade data, if you want to show exports, imports, different countries, or exports, imports of different goods. Then it's good to use. Arc charts are usually used for visualizing the parliament's composition of something, like composition of government, etc., etc. Then we have correlation. Correlation is when you actually want to show a relationship between some variables. Here, be careful, please, in whatever you're doing. Don't mess up correlation and causation, because I see this a lot. A lot of people are, oh, this is causing this. Well, you don't know if it's actually causing it. Maybe just they're correlated. Maybe one is causing the other, but then the other is also feeding into the first one. So careful with this kind of bold conclusions. Best chart to use here would be a scatter plot or a bubble chart. like this. Scatter plot is a cool and also a standard way to show the relationship between two continuous variables. And as you can see, also it's a good way to show immediately. You see that, oh, there's an outlier. Like you see that guy here. Immediately, your attention is, okay, there's something going on here. There's a story behind that. Again, if you remember from when we were talking about visualizing changes over time, we could also use column and line. Here you can also use it, and also scatter plot is a good way. Ranking. How am I doing, by the way, with time? Should I speed up? What should I do? I'm a little bit okay. Okay, ranking. Let me. I'm skipping the ranking. If you want to show some kind of flows and relationships between variables, then a good way is to try to use a Sankey. This is this kind of visualization here. You can use this in Flourish for free. It's cool. Even it can be animated. For example, you can show like how changes of something is flowing, to the other. In this kind of example, you have the moderate, the different guys like leaning, progressive, or moderate, or whatever, and you can see the change in time, like how many of these dudes are changed, their mind, and then became moderates or whatever. And it could be a really cool visualization. It can also show you the proportion and also the time series. And also this is a not so very often used chord graph. It's could be useful too. Let me just very, very briefly say a few words about color. These are mistakes I see all the time, with misuse of color. Please be careful. Don't use too many colors. It's getting really hard to digest. Don't limit the colors to 6, maybe 8 at the most. Even this is too much. If you see something like this, what the heck is this? This is a rainbow. What do you want to say with this? I don't know, but this doesn't make any sense, and it's just counterproductive. If you actually want to, again, I'm going back to my previous, my first words, is just be careful of what you want to say, what you want to convey, what's the story. So in this case, you want to show, okay, how the price of raspberries was increasing, or how it is relative to the others. So then you can contrast, but never do something like this. It's or for example, in this case, you have annual CO2 emissions. So in the first, if you just put whatever colors, so the audience see this and they don't know what are you conveying. It's okay, you just see some emissions of some countries with very similar colors. It doesn't say anything whatsoever. So in this case, if you want to particularly focus on Brazil and highlight it, then just move everything else to gray and then just highlight it. Then that tells a very, very different story. Another thing to be very careful about is when you have a few different graphs, stick to the same colors for whatever different graphs you have. So in this case, you have births and deaths. So don't interchange the colors. So in one graph you have the blue for deaths and the red for births and vice versa. Then when the audience sees this, they're immediately confused, and so be consistent with the colors also. Again, story. Think about what kind of visualization you are using for what. So in this bad example, you have the population of, this is some kind of a squirrel. The quokka is some kind of a squirrel. So you see a population of squirrels over time. So you immediately see this graph. What does it tell you? Nothing. It doesn't tell you anything. You see, in some kind of months, in some years, the population was whatever. And that's it. That's the picture. But actually, if you use the right graph, then the same data is what you're seeing now. So you see, for example, in March of 1993, there was a sharp decrease in the population. Something happened there. Something happened. That's a story, Or even if you use it, if you display it like this, so then you have something to say. again, here, I remember I was telling you to start from the axis at 0. This is crucially important. See how it changes everything. So here, we have a visualization of women's swimmers, in the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. And this is the number one, the whatever, Mereshko, the lady who was first. And if you see, this visualization, you're thinking like, oh, wow, she was a superwoman. I mean, like superwoman or whatever. See the difference with everyone else looks so huge. But the catch is, see, you didn't start at 0. You actually started at 100. So this is 100 seconds. If you actually start at 0, this is what you see. So then immediately, this kind of, okay, she's not that much of a superwoman. It's just, we're talking here about seconds. Another thing about color, please be careful. There actually a huge percentage of population are colorblind. This is oftentimes overlooked. You can check the colors you're using. There are, free websites where you can check, is this palette okay, for colorblind. Be careful about this. So I actually here wanted to do a live demo of how to use Data Wrapper and Flourish Studio and Tableau, the public version, the free one. But I think that's impossible, but at least you can play with this, and it's very easy. Just register, it's free. Use the names of the graphs and visualizations, upload your data or copy paste it, play with it a little bit. It's really cool. You can have this. So, okay, this is Data Wrapper. It looks very professional, like New York Times sort of. You can have all these, sorts of visualizations in literally minutes for free. And this is, so the first one was Data Wrapper, and this one is Flourish. Again, you can have everything I'm showing you literally in minutes. And last but not least, Tableau. I will finish here. Sorry for the rush. I think that we could have done a longer session. All the very best from me. Reach out if you need anything. I'm available to always to help.
Can we ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Just a quick, the site that you were showing, it means that if we put Excel, for example, of the research that we have produced, and we also have some graphics in that, can we, or we need to use Excel, can we use that so it will produce this type of, let's say, presentation?
So whether you use Data Wrapper or Flourish or even Tableau, the steps are like this: go into the website, register, it's free, and then you can input it. If you whatever data you can even input it inside. Or you can just copy paste your data from Excel, or you can, if you have an Excel table, with whatever data you have, you can just upload the Excel file. That's it. When you need to have some like trial and error, try a little bit, play with it a little bit. But when you know how to do it after that, it takes literally minutes to do this. All these kind of graphs I was showing you, they're all done in Flourish.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. This was very useful.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I will mute myself now because sorry, Danny, I ate up the time. It's just the time is really not enough.
Thank you, Dr. Petrova. Your presentation was impressive and very, very interesting.
Thank you.
And now we are moving again to Daniela, who will share insights on how citizens and civil society can contribute to strategic document, legislation, and public consultations.
I stopped sharing, so I think it should be fine that you start sharing it.
Thank you. I'll share now.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Did you?
No, I just did like this. No.
Okay. Okay. Do you see now my PowerPoint?
We see that you have started screen share. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we see.
Maybe I can do it like that. Okay, so I'll talk about what more we can do about citizen engagement. Although from your presentations, I already see that you signed memorandum of understanding with the customs and other officials. You talked to them, presented them your action plans or recommendations, which is great. I'll just share some more of our experience, and maybe we can learn from each other. What we can do in the long run, even after the end of this project, even if it's not funded, we just do it because it's our country and it's important to improve our own, the functionings of our own institutions and basically our everyday lives. What are the national participation pathways that we use? First, we have consultation portals. In Bulgaria, we have a website called strategy.bg, which is the government portal. Well, all the draft strategies, all the draft laws are uploaded and given a period for public consultation, and everyone can write a statement and upload it there. Of course, it's then difficult. Not always our recommendation end in the final version of these laws, but this is why we also need personal contacts and personal meetings, not just these statements. But these statements are important from a legal point of view because in a document you can explain exactly which article is flawed, where is the legal gap, what is incorrect in the terms they use or the legal definitions, how it could be abused by companies or certain oligarchs, let's say. Then we have advisory councils that are led by the government, according to the Bulgarian law, at least, and I hope the law of many other countries, the government is obliged to invite civil society representatives. And we have very important parliamentary working groups and also some councils, the Council of Ministers. These are the working groups are usually more short term, while the councils are more permanent bodies, while the working groups are formed to solve a concrete problem. But again, at least we are along let's say 20 other NGOs in Bulgaria are invited in such working groups, so we can take part, raise our hand, and provide opinions. And committee hearings, we can be either invited, but we can also initiate a hearing. For example, if we know some members of parliament, we can suggest that we go to the parliament for 1 hour and do a PowerPoint presentation, like our grantees did at the beginning of this training. So imagine this happening at the parliament building and reaching the correct people. Then we have EU level opportunities for impact. We have done such events and briefings at the European Parliament in Brussels. So again, it takes a lot of work to talk to the right people, to arrange a room, to be sure that they invite participants, especially you see who are the members of parliament that you support your cause, because not all of them, some of them are from the Green Party, let's say, or another party. So you need to talk to the right people. And different, like now the EU anti-corruption strategy has a repertoire, or all of your the accession countries have repertoires. So these are also people important to invite. And of course, DG NST and DG Just and other important DGs. And you have the local ombudsman and the European ombudsman, which again, you can use their platforms to share your problems and suggestions. And there is the EU Have Your Say portal. This is a very good opportunity for grassroots organizations, even small NGOs, to present their opinions. Anyone can upload opinion here, especially on the topics that are open for consultation. And you can see on this slide how it looks. Here you can see different NGOs or other business, let's say business association, NGO, and a public authority have uploaded their opinions. They say we support the European Commission decision. However, we have some recommendation how it could be improved. Of course, it will be great if in your team there are legal professionals that could write this statement in more legal language in order for your suggestions to be heard. And also these are, what I mentioned are the high-level policy advisory and impact tools. However, our work should be evidence-based, that it was mentioned. So this is why all of us will need to specialize also in other activities that could ultimately culminate in this, let's say, one-page policy recommendations. There could be hundreds of pages and many months of work to lead to that. That's why it will be good if you have a legal team that can do legal and regulatory analysis. You can support, hopefully all of your country have parliamentary committees that do corruption proofing of legislation, so that when new laws are adopted, there are no gaps. I know that this is wishful thinking. This is not true because many of the laws are adopted sometimes very quickly as emergency or lex specialis. They can decrease the role of the, let's say, prosecution, or they're taken without public debate. And that's why we're here as civil society to complement this gap. You can also do feasibility studies. For example, CSD has done a feasibility study in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, on the establishment of the current European Labour Authority. Before it existed, we did interviews, reports, how a future authority that will tackle undeclared work could operate, what their activities could be, how it will be beneficial if all countries come together and share good experiences, what type of sanctions they should use, what type of ways to prevent undeclared work. Of course, we have several methodologies for risk and threat analysis. You know, our state capture assessment diagnostics, our MACPI tool, the corruption monitoring system that Stoicu presented. And scenario building is important. You can also do something like World Cafe discussions with citizens, and include some foresight elements and discuss potential, let's say, pessimistic or optimistic scenarios for the development of a certain policy, let's say education or healthcare. One type, if certain reform is taken, and one pessimistic scenario if this reform is not undertaken by the government. And this can be presented, as Vanya showed, with this funnel fan chart that in the future it splits into two scenarios. Then every text that we provide to the policymakers at national or EU level, we want this text to be quotable. We want for them to just copy-paste our text and put it in the legislation or in the official strategy, but this is now not so easy. This is why there are 4 main rules how to do that. First, the text should have legal anchoring. So it should refer to specific national laws or EU provisions. It should focus on persistent design flaws, not on single scandals. Third, it should explain exactly how the current mechanisms or procedures fail. And fourth, it should use audit memo style without political framing. So don't blame a certain political party, just give the future solution regarding regardless who is in power. There are some formatting standards that we also recommend that you observe. For example, when you submit recommendations, they should be up to 3,000 characters per answer. As I said, it should be immediately quotable, so they could be facilitate copy pasting from your document into the official document of the government, and keep neutral, not blaming type of tone. Here's one example of what CSD has been doing. We have been submitting statements. This example is for how the Bulgaria should transpose the EU whistleblowing directive. Statement on the then draft act or draft law. We uploaded this in the strategy.bg portal, the official portal, but of course, if you're part of a working group, you also send this to all the members of the working group, and we posted the website. A good practice is to do a joint statement with several other NGOs. So you can have a joint common opinion and submit with 3 or 4 logos of several NGOs on your statement. This gives a strength and weight. Also, Seldi has been submitted every year inputs to the enlargement package. We'll do that, by the way, this month by the end of April. This is on the screen, you can see example from last year. We have a disclaimer and acknowledge who are the organizations that provided input to the our document. And then we have country by country and issue by issue a short summary of the latest developments, where are the governance gaps, and what we recommend the European Commission do. Very important, we should have as footnotes reference to our own reports, so hopefully they end in the enlargement package reports of the European Commission, and the same for the rule of law report. And it's important to package our long reports into very short products so that policymakers can read in 5 minutes, because as noted, some of them will not dedicate more than 5 minutes to our texts. That's why at the bottom right, you see our long regional anti-corruption reports and national level corruption assessment reports, but they can be summarized in 1 pager, or they can be distributed not on paper, but just as a leaflet with QR code to the full text, or as Vanya presented, they could be turned into interactive charts and put on the website with just a short 1 paragraph summary explaining what you see in the chart. And here is an example of our policy briefs. If the politicians don't have time to read the full policy brief, they can just take a look at these 6 bullet points on the first page. If they read only that, we'll be happy that we have reached the correct persons, because all the data, all the numbers, all the problems and solutions are here, what you see on the screen. And as I mentioned, it's important to keep also informal relations with the people in parliament. On the bottom right, you can see one of our events in the European Parliament. and just send them news, send them connect to them in LinkedIn, and keep these informal connections always open. So thank you very much. I'm sorry we're almost half an hour over the allocated time, but I hope that it was useful.
It was definitely useful, Dani. Thank you very much. Maybe now we can move to the interactive questions and answers and mentorship session. We will open the floor now for discussion and questions from our participants. So this is like an open space to reflect on the topics discussed today, clarify any points, exchange experiences across participants and speakers. So if anyone have question, can raise hand or write in the chat box. Or just speak up.
Can I just say, like, I want to thank you all because I think that today's presentations were very useful for us, especially as we are a think tank organization that usually use all of these. And I was just thinking about how to do the presentation for the research that we have produced, and we have a press. So I will definitely use the sites that Vanya recommended, and I would be very thankful if you can share with us all of the presentations that you have used.
Sure, we will share the presentations. They will be also uploaded on the Seldi website, so you can take it from there. Also, our plan is to upload the video of this training on the website, so you will have everything from the materials that were presented today.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are not any questions, then we can start the closing. Okay, thank you. Thank you all for your participation and engagement today. We have explored how evidence, data, and citizen engagement can play a crucial role in shaping better and more transparent policies. Special thanks to our speakers for their valuable contributions and to all participants for joining us today. This may have been our last opportunity to gather like this online with all the grantees, but what we can guarantee is that we will continue to promote your achievements throughout the duration of the Seldi program. There are plans to develop a comprehensive dashboard with detailed information on all grantees and their achievements. And also, I would like to inform you that we have signed a contract with a company that will provide a video showcasing your achievements. So during the preparation period, we may reach out to some of you for input, and we kindly ask you to remain available. And we hope that our cooperation so far has been a positive experience for all of us and that we will continue to collaborate in the future. That's all from me, and thank you again. Have a great rest of the day.